And tracking severe storms today. It happened in the dead of night.
The building started to shake, and then we heard glass and everything breaking and everything. It only lasted maybe 30 seconds.
Our meteorologist led us all through the worst of it.
A notification on Channel 7.
In your safe spot now.
No more than got there and got situated, and boom, everything just started crashing around us. And
then the sun came up. It revealed a disaster of epic proportions.
I'm just awestruck, to be honest with you.
Now we're there as people pick themselves up, find out what they lost and what they still have.
Devastating damage across the Miami Valley after strong tornadoes hit the area. This is Sky 7 video of the damage left behind in Salina. And look at what's left of this strip mall along North Dixie Drive. Several businesses, including a family dollar store, have been destroyed. Plus, the former Hera Arena saw its roof ripped off and a lot of damage to the side of the building. Good afternoon. I'm Cheryl McHenry.
And I'm James Brown. News Center 7 first started warning people about the dangerous storms and tornadoes last night about 9 o'clock.
Here's the very latest. At least one person is confirmed dead in Salina in connection with the tornado damage.
At least 87 people have gone to the hospital because of injuries connected to the tornadoes.
Right now, all of Dayton and Montgomery County are under a boil advisory, except for communities with their own water supply. There's also a boil advisory for some Greene County water customers on Swigert, Clio, and Kittredge roads, along with the Seville Estates area.
And we have Team 7 weather coverage for you. This is a map showing you of all of our reporters, and they are looking at the damage. And keep in mind, we want to go right to Chief Meteorologist McCall Vrydags with the very latest information from the National Weather Service. McCall?
Well, we have already confirmed 3 tornadoes in the Miami Valley, and we are still dealing with the storm damage assessment from the National Weather Service. So these are preliminary reports, and I'm going to take you through all 3 confirmations. We have one that was in northwestern Greene County near Beaver Creek. Winds estimated anywhere between 136 miles an hour to 165. That puts you in an EF3 category. At this point, the width of the tornado and the track is unknown. It's quite possible that it is a very long track that originated in northwestern Montgomery County, where a second confirmed tornado has been reported from the National Weather Service with winds up to 140 miles per hour. Once again, an EF3 confirmation from the National Weather Service in Wilmington. A third EF3 tornado confirmed in Salina. This was a completely separate storm that developed before that Montgomery and Greene County twister. Again, right in Salina, winds between 136 to 165 miles per hour. The damage caused by this is devastating throughout the Miami Valley. When you take a look at wind speeds, this is how we categorize tornadic activity. Category 3 is severe damage. A lot of structural damage. A lot of the times you'll see that second floor being sheared off by these intense winds. Sometimes you can see even a whole structure pulled down to the ground. When you start to talk about EF4 and EF5, that's when you're obliterating communities and wiping houses off of foundations. So we saw a lot of destruction close to that up in the Salina area. This is why these reports are preliminary as the National Weather Service continues to survey, and it may take a couple of days before we get that final assessment from them. Some photos of the damage throughout the Miami Valley. This is from the Ludlow Falls area. Now, there was no confirmation with a rotation that came through this area, and I was tracking this one as it came out of southern Darke County into Miami County. Still waiting to see if the National Weather Service will go out and assess this damage. It appears a barn was destroyed by some very strong winds at that particular location. Here's Salina. You can see this very well-built structure, this home, and how the entire top of the roof has just been torn off and the debris littered around this whole area. And a lot of this neighborhood, which we have John Bedell out surveying, is just breathtaking to see all of the damage that was left when that twister came through. This one's from Alan Michael Marks. This is in the Brookville area, and you can see that this pickup truck was just squished by this very large tree as it came down. Not really sure what's off in the distance. It looks as though there's a house that perhaps the whole roof and shingles have been torn off on the one side. We have so many of these photos coming in, and I thank you for sending them in to us. It gives us a good full scope of what's going on in our communities. We are not out of the woods yet. We have a severe thunderstorm watch that's in the northern Miami Valley from now until 8 o'clock this evening. Already seeing some thunderstorm development across the far communities of our viewing area. Just to the northeast northeast of Wapakoneta near Waynesfield. We have a pretty intense thunderstorm there with some very heavy rain, perhaps some hail with that cell. Further off to the north and west, more showers and thunderstorms organizing in a line north of Indianapolis, and that will continue to move into the northern Miami Valley, followed by this cluster that's now moving out of Illinois. So it's going to be an active evening with that threat for severe weather that is going to continue at least for the next few hours until we get to about around sunset and shortly thereafter. Severe weather index for tonight, greatest concerns are going to be hail and damaging winds. Any heavy rainfall is going to lead to that threat for flooding, potentially flash flooding as well. And this time around, unfortunately, we still cannot rule out an isolated brief spin-up tornado. Not the same setup that we saw last night, but I'll take you through the timing and when we could see the worst of these storms in just about 10 minutes. But for now, let's send it outside to John Bedell up in Salina as he is looking at the damage up there. John.
And McCall, it's incredible to see the damage here, and it is tragic that it did turn deadly here in Salina, and I'm going to get to more of that in just a moment because we are learning more from the town's mayor about the gentleman who was killed here, 81-year-old Melvin Hanna. But everyone here in Salina, from people who live in this neighborhood right on up to Governor Mike DeWine, who was here earlier today in a press conference we live streamed on our WHIO Facebook page, told me, look, it's incredible it wasn't more deadly. And the one thing everybody has said, from, again, people in this neighborhood on up to the state's chief executive, has been, it's because people had the warnings, and everybody who survived said, I was in my basement, I was in my basement. We heard the warnings, I was in my basement. In this case, among all this destruction that we're seeing here and this tragedy here in Salina, I think it would be a shame to hear a nice thing, in my case, and not relay it, which is, I want to show you, Channel 7 photographer Mike Burianic and I came up to Salina in Storm Tracker 7. So we're in here about an hour ago working on our story. And this woman, her name is Kathy Hitchcock, she came up to me and said, hey, are you guys that station with McCall? What's her last name? I said, yes, ma'am, McCall Vrydeck. She's our chief meteorologist. And she told me, you know, I just want you guys to know that she did a fantastic job. And she saved us last night. And I want her to know that. And she didn't want us to put her on camera, but I got her to agree to take a little video. And I texted that to McCall because, as Dante Jones was saying last night, Storm Center 7 meteorologist John Tate was saying last night, that's why we do what we do in these situations. It can, in many cases, be life-saving. So I wanted to pass that along, that people here in Salina very much do appreciate the work of our Storm Center 7 team, that we were wall-to-wall last night. Now, the damage in this neighborhood, Cheryl and James and McCall, everybody take a look at this. We've got multiple homes in this neighborhood that look like this one just behind me. We're in the Wheatland Acres neighborhood. This is just on the north edge of the city. Half this roof is taken off. It looks like half the house has a flat roof, and then suddenly the rafters and the studs pop up halfway through. Want to show you some drone video of what things look like on the other side of this house that we shot from Sky 7, because you can see multiple cars here that neighbors told me used to be in the garage of that home we just showed you with that roof ripped off. Those cars were picked up and tossed, and they're now laying, in some cases, in between these houses and in various places across the yard. With all this damage, it is incredible that more people were not seriously hurt or even killed here in Salina. Tragically, there was one person that was killed in direct connection with this storm, and that was 81-year-old Melvin Hanna. He lived a little bit up the road from where we're at now. The mayor here in Salina told me he was very well known. The Hannas are a very well-known family. This is one of those communities, not unlike many others in the Miami Valley, where everybody knows everybody. And he told me a little bit about not just how it happened last night, but how this community is now dealing with his loss. Take a listen.
He was already in bed for the night of sleep, and literally he did not see what was coming. It was probably a blessing for him, but it hurts our hearts as a community. We mourn with the family. It's a grieving process in a number of ways when there's a loss.
So obviously this community is hurting, losing one of their own. The mayor told me this is deeply personal, deeply painful for him. He's told me his heart is hurting for this community, for his community. He lives here in Salina himself. Now we're going to stay here, and we're going to keep showing you more of the damage, which is just unbelievable to see the scope and the breadth of this damage here in Salina. And we'll show you when we join you live in an hour, a little less than an hour, at 5, what we've seen throughout this community here in Salina, neighbors helping neighbors, and how people from all the way across town who had no damage to their homes, why they felt it important to trek all the way across town here to the north edge of Salina and to help, in some cases, their friends, in some cases, complete strangers. We'll have a young woman who we talked to about her efforts doing just that when we join you live at 5. For now, though, we are live in Salina this afternoon. I'm John Bedell, News Center 7.
All right, John, the storms generated all kinds of warnings. News Center 7's meteorologist broadcast as soon as the National Weather Service issued them.
One of those warnings sent a woman scrambling to her bathroom at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base housing in Riverside.
And News Center 7's Mike Campbell talked to that woman after she discovered her roof missing and her car totaled, something repeated across all parts of our area.
In neighborhood after neighborhood, the scene was repeated. Trees down, blocking roads, neighbors working together to clear just enough space for cars to get through and checking on their neighbors to make sure everyone was okay.
When it came through, we just had a little twin mattress over top of us.
Kristen Potts says she and her boyfriend saw a tornado warning, grabbed the mattress and the dogs, and waited it out in the downstairs bathroom.
We could hear the crashing of the windows, and I didn't know that it was going to be this bad.
This is what Potts saw when she walked out. The roof to half of her apartment building here at the properties at Wright Field was 5 steps outside her front door, and she could see the sky from her second floor.
This is here, yeah, and there was a lot more, and they were trying to tell me to be careful because of the live wires.
Potts' car is also a total loss after branches smashed the windshield and dented it in all directions. Everyone on her street began clearing trees and cleaning out the street. Another woman that also lost her vehicle says they did a neighbor check first and realized no one suffered serious injuries.
They're in bad shape, but they're not hurt. Everything is good. Everything is replaceable.
This was the sound of cleanup for small branches. Larger branches took heavier equipment as base workers cleared out a tree that fell on a child care's playground fence. Survivors couldn't believe the damage that happened in a short time.
I know it was only like a minute when it came through, but it felt like a lot longer.
It's not just thousands of homeowners that need to call their insurance. There are also thousands of car owners that will have to call their insurance as damage from trees and branches falling means a bunch of people don't have a vehicle to drive right now. Mike Campbell, News Center 7.
And a tornado that moved through Harrison Township caught here on an ODOT camera. Look at this. This is a look from I-75 at Carillon Boulevard looking north. You can see there off in the distance that ominous cloud and that huge, massive cloud that moved across I-75.
It is huge.
Yeah.
A strip mall is destroyed after the tornado hit in Harrison Township.
Now, look here from Sky 7. I want you to take a look at the damage along North Dixie Drive. And meteorologist Jesse Mag showed this damage live at noon.
Jesse is live now in a neighborhood nearby with just how much damage was left behind there. Jesse.
Okay, we do apologize. Having a little bit of an audio issue right there with Jesse. We'll work to get back with him in just a few minutes. But right now, let's give you an idea. Tens of thousands of power customers do not have electricity. That's difficult as well. It's hot and humid this afternoon. You can see right here, Dayton Power and Light outage maps. Looks as though 41,000 plus in Montgomery County that do not have power. Almost 4,700 there in Greene County and 2,000 in Miami County. And DP&L's spokesperson said this morning that crews are working around the clock to try and restore the power. It has also emphasized to people they've got to stay away because of those down power lines.
WHIO is now getting a look at some damage in Miami County. News Center 7's Monica Castro continues our Team 7 coverage after talking with a woman who said a storm chaser saved her neighbors.
There is a lot of destruction here off of Kessler Road in Miami County. Take a look at this home. Now, the roof is completely ripped off. We've heard even parts of the roof are in the back of the house. You can also see all of these tree limbs scattered on this front yard. We did talk to the family earlier. They told us that they are devastated that this happened. They actually ran to a neighbor's house to get some help, but we've seen them throughout the day just picking up their belongings, trying to get some of that out so that they can move in to get some shelter. But take a look across the street over here. This is where we're also seeing some more damage. This is just across the road. You can see that there is a tree in the roof over there. And you could just see this downed tree over here. These are massive trees. So luckily those people got out okay. Also, just next door, you're seeing the same exact thing. Another tree in the roof, scattered debris, limbs everywhere. Now, we talked to a woman earlier. Here's what she said about helping out her neighbors.
There was a car that pulled in our driveway, and my neighbor was beating on my door to let him in that their house had been destroyed with his 2 kids. And a storm chaser actually had picked them up along the road because they were afraid that their house was going to cave in.
Once again, you're seeing all of the destruction that was left because of the storms that happened last night. But what's amazing to see is that today a lot of people have been stopping by, trying to bring supplies, water, and things for people who have been impacted. For now, in Miami County, Monica Castro, News Center 7.
And while lots of homes and businesses were damaged and destroyed, the major damage left to a legendary Miami Valley venue that is now turning into a big eyesore.
Weeknights on MeTV. Watch MASH at 7, Andy at 8, and Gomer Pyle at 9. You can find MeTV on broadcast channel 7.2 and on Spectrum 23 and 372.